The ongoing crimes of the occupation against journalists, both male and female, in the Gaza Strip are a desperate attempt to assassinate the Palestinian narrative, to kill the truth and to hide the crimes committed by the occupation army against Palestinian civilians. The occupation also aims to intimidate journalists to deter them from conveying the truth from the scene, which exposes the occupation's claims before the international public opinion. Since the beginning of the Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip, the number of martyred journalists has reached 138. Noting that this number exceeds the number of journalists and media personnel who were killed in World War II, which was 69. The Israeli occupation's targeting of journalists as a severe violation of international humanitarian law and international human rights law, as international law has established international mechanisms for the protection of journalists, represented in a number of international charters and treaties, especially the Geneva Conventions and the protocols annexed thereto particularly. Article 79 of the Additional Protocol 1 of 1977 related to international armed conflicts, which considers journalists as civilians and applies to them what applies to civilians, and also to Rule number 34 of customary international humanitarian law. The Israeli occupation army directly targets journalists, mistakenly believing that by targeting them it can hide the truth and the grave crimes and violations of international humanitarian law and international human rights law committed by the Israeli occupation states against civilian citizens in the Gaza Strip. The United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution number 1738 of 2006, which condemns any attack on journalists during armed conflicts and emphasizes the necessity of their protection. The United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution number 68 and 163 of 2013, which condemns acts of violence against journalists during armed conflicts and urges ensuring their safety. The United Nations Security Council adopted Resolution number 2222 of 2015, which calls for the protection of journalists, media workers, and associated personnel, affirming that media equipment, tools, offices, and studios are civilian assets which should not be targeted for attacks or revenge actions during war and military operations. Today, the international community, the Secretary General of the United Nations, the Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the occupied Palestinian territories, the International Federation of Journalists, and UNESCO are required to fulfill their duties and force the occupation government to stop targeting Palestinian journalists, organize advocacy and pressure campaigns to support Palestinian journalists and bring their targeting issue to the attention of the international public opinion, and also to demand the International Criminal Court to investigate the crimes of the occupation against journalists and bring Israeli war criminals to international justice.